Neptune stations retrograde at 3:55 a.m. Eastern on Tuesday, June 28th. And until December 3rd, we will need to sort through what's real and what's an illusion, release any self-defeating notions, and do some healing. Let's break this transit down and talk about all 12 signs. My name is Anastasia. I'm a traditional Western astrologer. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe, leave me a like or a comment. I'd really appreciate that. And if you'd like to work with me, if you're curious to understand yourself better, I do natal readings. I do readings that look at your year ahead. There's a link down below if you'd like to book one. So Neptune stations retrograde. A retrograde is very regular. It happens every year and it lasts about 5 months, more than 5 months and approximately a week. So it's a longer retrograde, so it's less of a disruption than, let's say, Mercury retrograde that happens 3 times a year and sort of throws our regular life off balance, right? Neptune is the outer planet. It's an invisible planet. It deals with matters that are more hidden. And so this retrograde kind of causes less outer action. It's more internal. It's more about sorting through your illusions, your dreams, your misgivings, or behaviors that sabotage you, perhaps. So just don't be scared. All I'm trying to say. There's no reason to be scared. What is Neptune? Neptune is the planet of dreams. It's connected to the god of the ocean, so it has a little bit of that quality of like boundlessness, right? When you look at the ocean, sometimes it feels like there's no end to it. It always feels like there's no end to it. And so Neptune kind of has that quality of like, it's boundless. It tends to wash away our differences, like, you know, everyone in the ocean. You are like, you know, you're a human. You can swim, you cannot swim. Basically, like, it's just, see, even talking about Neptune kind of feels a little bit Neptunian, but it's a planet that's connected to dreams. It's a planet that's connected to creativity. You see it a lot of times at the top of the chart of very famous people like actors, producers, because they create illusions for a living, right? They are professional dreamers and dream makers. So it has that energy of creativity, of dreaming, of imagination. But like I said, it could at times blur the line between what's real and what's not. So you always want to be careful with Neptune, because while it can inspire you and it can make you idealistic, at the same time, it can also make you believe something that is not real. So Neptune retrograde is about that. It's actually a good period in the Neptune cycle. I mean, when it's direct, it's also pretty good because we tend to work on our dreams. But when Neptune goes retrograde for 5 months, you're sort of chopping away and getting rid of all the clutter and unnecessary things that may not be real. And ideals are great, dreams are great, they inspire us, right? But Neptune, because of that boundless quality, you can OD on Neptune. You can just like take it too far. And that's why Neptune is also connected with addictions and escapist tendencies and substance abuse, anything like that that blurs, that walks the fine line of like dreams versus self-destructive behavior, right? So something to be aware. Just make sure that you're not like that you're addressing all of your negative tendencies and you're paying attention to the dreams that you're dreaming. Neptune is currently in Pisces, right? Like Pisces is the sign of the dreamer. It's the sign connected with ideals, and also a sign that's very much the sign of selfless love. So these are some of the great qualities of Neptune: creativity, selfless love, dreaming. But Pisces also at times struggles with escapism. That's why Neptune is the modern ruler of Pisces, and I'm a traditional astrologer, so I don't really use it as much, but there's definitely some truth to that. Overall, I see Neptune retrograde as a wake-up call. If Neptune going direct is the time when we're dreaming and we are indulging in certain fantasies, then your alarm rings and you have to figure out like what was the message there, right? Like a lot of times, depending on how attuned to your dreams you are, you might wake up and the dream lingers and you're like asking yourself, what was the lesson there? What was it trying to tell me? So I feel like Neptune retrograde is a little bit like that. Like, was everything that happened prior a dream? Was it a reality? What have you learned? It's about facing the truth, right? Like facing the truth of, have you wasted the time or have you actually worked towards your goals? So some of the things that you should expect is revisiting your dreams, taking a stock of what's not worth pursuing, figuring out what needs to be let go versus what is worth pursuing, but maybe you just need a more solid plan, for example. Like I said, it's very much about like getting the levels right of like ideal, fantasy, and the realistic approach, because every, I don't know, a movie starts with an idea, a project, business starts with like a spark of Neptunian idea. So you're just trying to make sure you're like balancing the poetry of your idealism with the structured, let's say, Saturnian approach in a lot of ways. This period is also great for gaining clarity. Very much, understanding, have you been over-idealizing someone? Have you been overindulging in something? Have you lied to yourself about your job, let's say? Have you kept on telling yourself like, well, I'll wait another month, and it's been 5 years. So very much there could be like an aha moment, the moment where you get more realistic, you realize the glasses, like the rose-colored glasses, get taken off and you are more prone to see things for what they truly are. Your dreams will be likely more significant. You can expect to find answers in dreams. You can expect to find insights through your dreams. So definitely pay attention to what you're dreaming about, the messages you're seeing. Like if you're someone who follows angel numbers, maybe you start to get a certain message through that, or messages through your ancestors, right? Like seeing a certain bird, for example, like anything like that. It is lovely for creativity and for honing in on your gifts and talents, because Neptune is moving backwards, and maybe something that you were going off of just like your intuition, right? Let's say you are a tarot reader and you've just been reading things with some knowledge, but mainly off of your intuition. Neptune going retrograde could be the time when you're actually revisiting that and perhaps gaining the knowledge, studying tarot and understanding like, oh, this could be such a lovely accompaniment for my knowledge. Creatively too, finding inspiration, looking for inspiration, looking back, retrograde back, could be great. And another thing, this is also a lovely period for your spiritual self-development, travels, especially if like Pisces is your 9th house, which is the case for like Cancer risings, traveling to a yoga retreat or silent meditation or tarot, like learning tarot, learning astrology, meditating, starting a gratitude journal, like a lot of lovely things. And you might enjoy swimming. You might enjoy swimming, and you might also be a lovely time for kind of revisiting your diet and looking at what you are eating, whether you're eating things that are toxic for you, and maybe you can clean your diet up a little bit. Learning to say no, I think, is another theme, a really big theme with Neptune. If you're someone who has Neptune in the 1st house, You may struggle with saying no natally. If you have Neptune in the 7th house, you may struggle to say no in relationships. So this is a significant time to learn to say no and start small. Someone asks you to, I don't know, go out and you don't feel like going out and you say no, or someone asks you to babysit their child and you have work to do and you say no. Just, yeah, like kind of getting more in touch with what makes you feel happy and secure, and then building stronger boundaries. Just be honest with yourself, right? Like, be honest with the things that are not serving you, with the dreams that are pipe dreams, dreams that are not coming true, but still pursue those that can come true, and maybe just rewrite the narrative by building a solid plan. There's some, before I was going to mention the dates that are important to watch out for. Before I do that, this will be most important for people with placements, planets, or angles, ascendant, descendant, midheaven, IC, in 22 to 25 degrees of mutable signs. So we're talking Gemini, Sagittarius, Pisces, and Virgo. Those 4 signs. And that is because Neptune is going to move backwards from 25 degrees into 22 degrees. 22 degrees, 39 minutes, I believe. So if you have planets really like right in those degrees, Neptune will be aspecting those planets for the 2nd time, maybe the 4th time, but technically, let's say the 2nd, because Neptune would have done it directly. Now it's going to do it retrograde, and then again in direct motion. So you want to pay attention to those planets. You want to see what those planets symbolize, the houses they rule, and perhaps just look at the illusions and the lies you might be telling yourself in that area, and the dreams that you're dreaming. And if you'd like more help with it, if you'd like professional help, get a reading with me. So some dates to watch with this transit: on July 2nd, Mercury will square Neptune. And then on July 14th, Venus will square Neptune. So July 2nd, Mercury in a square with Neptune, our thinking gets clouded. We tend to believe things that may be not fully true. There might be people who try to create confusion in our life. Maybe they don't respect our accomplishments, or they minimize our accomplishments. There might also be like a tendency to believe things that are not real, follow some kind of get-rich-quick scheme. Make sure you're not getting misled by others, and maybe don't make any important decisions when it comes to your mind, right? Because your mind might be clouded. On July 14th, with Venus squaring Neptune, there might be similar topics, because Venus literally will be in the same degree as Mercury. So maybe it's a longer story that started on July 2nd, continues on July 14th. But Venus in a square with Neptune, Venus deals with creativity, romance, beauty. There might just be less certainty when it comes to your relationships. Sense of disillusionment, disappointment, misunderstandings. Watch out though for making any like decisions that are connected to your look. Don't go getting like a full body tattoo on that day. Get it another day, just not on July 14th. September 16th is significant because it's the day after my birthday. I mean, not as significant as September 15th, but September 16th, the Sun will oppose Neptune. And if the Sun is your light, and the Sun sometimes wants to stand apart, it's, you know, the light that we all look up to. We live our life in accordance to the Sun. We wake up with the Sun, we go to bed when the Sun is down. Neptune will question that light. And it could be a lot of things, right? Like it could be your personal identity, it could be your relationships or the goals you're pursuing, your professional identity, your ego might get blurred by Neptune, because Neptune will very much be like, but what's the purpose here? What's the purpose in the things you're trying to accomplish? Are they serving the greater good? Maybe you are not doing the right thing if they're not. So expect to feel low on energy, confused, and try to work with spiritual tools in order to help yourself. Like, great day to meditate, take a break, go look at the water, be like, hello, Neptune. I love you. Hi. October 12th, Mars and Gemini will square Neptune. And then that will happen again when Mars goes retrograde and squares Neptune retrograde again on November 19th. October 12th, November 19th. Mars is the planet of action. Neptune is like, no, but why? What's the point? There's no point. So the time where you don't feel certain, where you feel a little bit stuck, maybe something you were working towards falls apart or needs reconsidering, rebuilding, reworking. So just try to be strategic, but do not push things forward. It's not a good time to like go at it full speed and just try like to get your way. Anyways. And then December 1st, Mercury will square Neptune again, now from the sign of Sagittarius. Similar vibes to July 2nd. Uncertainty. There's like, you know, sometimes it's like uncertainty, lies, deception, but I know this is just like such a fun energy. Or you can also get too idealistic. You can get like almost taken by this energy and just like become like a, I don't know, a fighter for it. And it's not necessarily going to be accurate. So make sure you're not like pursuing things that don't feel real. So let's take a look at all 12 signs and just quickly see what you might expect. For Aries rising, Neptune will retrograde through your 12th house. Solitude will be important, spending time traveling to foreign lands, spending time reconnecting with yourself. More than other signs, 12th house deals with dreams and that state between first house, material world, and spiritual, like sleep state. So dreams can be significant, extra significant. You may be getting messages through like the thin veil between the spiritual realm and the physical realm. At this time, I think, you know, specifically like through your dreams, that's probably the most, something that happens most often. 12th house deals with all the ways we escape the world, all the ways in which we sabotage ourselves. It's, you know, it's the house of hidden enemies, but who is the hidden enemy if not you yourself for the most part? Everyone else has a ton of stuff going on in their own life. They're not as interested in yourself as you are in yourself. So with Neptune retrograde in the 12th house, you're getting a chance to examine all of your self-defeating tendencies. And that includes literal bad habits, like, I don't know, drinking 2 bottles of wine every night. Or could also be more verbal self-abuse, let's say, like if you are being negative to yourself, if you are criticizing yourself, blaming yourself for things that are out of your control, or like worrying too much about something that is out of your control, self-sacrificing yourself, right? Putting yourself on the altar of something or someone who's not worth it or doesn't appreciate you. Any of the past issues, wherever you might be holding on to the past and not allowing yourself to move forward, all of this could come back to you. And it's a lovely time actually to meditate, to journal, to do therapy, and also just kind of like come to understanding that, you know, bad things do happen to good people sometimes, and hopefully you get through them and you learn something and you keep going. Another thing, 12th house deals with healing and helping other people, and maybe there are people in your life who do all of these things, sabotage themselves, indulge in self-abuse or escapist behaviors, and maybe you are learning to step into your gifts of helping others. So 12th house classically has been the place of isolation, and you can totally be the person who, you know, shows up for others, for people who are isolated and somehow misunderstood or lost in their life. For Taurus risings, Neptune will retrograde through your 11th house, and 11th house deals with your friendships and your networks. So if you have been struggling with any friendships, but also like social engagements, if you felt like there's too many things on your plate, 11th house is also the place of social media. So if you felt like those, like social media and your friendships and people around you have not been offering support, this might be the time when you choose to speak about things honestly, right? You choose to express yourself to these people, and maybe you tell them how their actions or their words make you feel, and you try to come to understanding. If you're feeling confused about the friendship, it might be a good time to take a step back and, like, you know, revisit and see how maybe you can work on that friendship better. Social, yeah, like thinking of social media and maybe your place in the world and people who you consider your tribe, let's say, like, are they real? Like, are they supportive of you, or are they just friendships that you've been going with for years because you feel loyal and you don't want to let them go? And yeah, like your social media pursuits. And sometimes I think of 11th house too as like the data, the noise around us, and maybe just like wondering what kind of noise you want to ingest, or what kind of information you want to ingest versus what is not serving you. So especially when it comes to social media, right? Like, are you following people who post negative things, who post videos that frustrate you somehow? So maybe you kind of organize your social media life. And 11th house also deals with like hopes and dreams and your place in the collective. So questioning your place in the collective right now and asking what would you like to be known for is a good time. It's a good time for that. For Gemini rising, Neptune will retrograde in your 10th house. This is your house of career and status and reputation. And so Neptune being retrograde is kind of like the time when you can no longer hide from yourself. It's the time when being idealistic about career, I think, is actually encouraged, because you should be idealistic. You should pursue professional things that make your heart beat faster. What is your calling is the question here, right? Like, are you doing a job that is okay for now, but is not really filling you up with joy? What can you do to get to where you're going? What are you dreaming about? What actually puts a smile on your face? So Neptune going retrograde in your 10th house will definitely make you reconsider your professional choices. There might be, of course, as always with Neptune and Neptune retrograde, there might be uncertainty in your career. Maybe you just got a job and you realize it's not the job that you want, but you need it to pay the bills. So take it easy. Avoid making rash decisions. I mean, it's a longer period, so if you're looking to switch careers, just approach it mindfully and thoughtfully, but maybe use some kind of like spiritual technique in order to find some answers, right? Like journal, write your thoughts out, make a vision board, ask your friends for help, reach out to a life coach. Alternatively, you might try to take a break from work. You might just try to take it easy and allow yourself to be in the uncertainty for a little bit, because whatever Neptune does, I've dealt with Neptune opposite my sun all of last year, and it feels confusing as hell. It feels uncertain. Your energy is low, and it might just be like the time when you need to trust. You need to trust the universe, and you need to trust that the confusion is doing something and it's here for a reason. And so, yeah, like taking a break, traveling, going to the water, very Neptunian topic, but like going to the ocean, watching the waves, even something, a simple act like that could be quite therapeutic at this time. For Cancer rising, Neptune transits the 9th house as it goes retrograde. The 9th house deals with your faith, your beliefs, your philosophies, your guiding moral principles. So Cancer rising, maybe there's certain things that you have been so idealistic about and so certain, so confident that they are the truth. Maybe now is the time to look at them differently. Maybe it's the time to accept that there might be multiple sides to every story and that your vision is not necessarily the only vision or the only right vision, right? So let's say you're married and you have a child and you've always believed that your child needs to be homeschooled. And because that's, I don't know, you were homeschooled and you feel like that's the right way to do it because you don't want to put your kid in the environment with other children, or even putting your kid in kindergarten, right? Like you've always felt like that is not the right thing, but you're married and your spouse believes that it is the right thing. So this could be the time when you sit together and you talk about those things and you figure out where you may have been misguided, where they may have been misguided, because the truth might be in the middle somewhere. It's not necessarily that you are absolutely correct or they are absolutely correct. The truth might be in the middle. So just being more open to seeing the world from a different perspective. 9th house deals with education, so maybe there's certain matters related to education that you need to revisit and address, right? Like paying for school or traveling to study somewhere. There might just be things that you have to look at closely. Legal matters might stall a little bit and there might be uncertainty when it comes to legal matters. You just have to be patient. You have to wait it out. Lovely time to travel for spiritual reasons, to study acting or study some kind of spiritual tradition and learn about astrology, meditate, connect with people who are foreign, who are different than you, who can actually help you see things from different perspectives. For Leo risings, Neptune goes into your 8th house, and 8th house deals with debts we have to others, entanglements we have with others. And sometimes those are good, right? Like being married and being entangled to your spouse and raising children together. Or they can be negative, where we are so reliant on our parents that we cannot make our own steps, for example. So Neptune going retrograde can show you all these things, all these places in your life in which you are involved in the agreements that do not serve you. Maybe you're selling yourself short professionally or personally. Maybe you have agreed to something that is actually against your morals and your standards, and you feel like you've been taken advantage of. So this is a lovely time to look at all of your interactions with other people. This is a good time to pay any debts, to review any contracts, literal or more spiritual soul contracts, right? Like speak about what you want, express yourself, say no more often, and just be more direct in asserting yourself. For Virgo rising, Neptune transits while retrograde through the 7th house. Neptune would have been in your 7th house for many, many years at this point. So Neptune going retrograde in the 7th house, the place of partnerships and relationships, is all about your relationships with other people. It's all about your tendency to self-sacrifice, your tendency to put yourself second, to idealize your partner. This might be the period when you realize that someone you have put on a pedestal is just a real person. It's not necessarily a sign of a relationship ending. Of course, Neptune could be a sign of dissolving something, especially when it's making aspects to your significant planets. But it could also be just the time in which you start to look at things from a more realistic point of view. Look at your patterns in a relationship, look at their patterns in a relationship, and trying to rebuild things, trying to be more honest with your partner. You may hear from someone from your past, or past problems may come back. For example, if it is a self-sacrificial tendency, or if it is a tendency to date people who are somehow in need of your help, because maybe you feel like by dating them you are protecting yourself from them leaving you. So you may get another go around on the carousel of whether this is the right partner for you or not. Be careful, of course, dating your exes, but if you need to get closure and dating the ex will help you get some, then go get some. And yeah, like, pay attention to the lies you're telling yourself. Pay attention, like, you know, that just today I got someone asking me, how can I help this Pisces person who is struggling with letting go of their past lover or the lover that's not good for them? And like, it's not your job. It's not up to you to help someone. Like, if they're asking you, if they're there being like, can you, you know, be with me as I get through it? Can you talk to me? Then sure, help them. But if you're like from afar, if you're into someone who's still into their ex, let them get over their ex. Let them realize how destructive it is for them. You're just adding more confusion into the mix, and you're confusing yourself by thinking that you have the power to help them. So Neptune retrograding in the 7th house for Virgo risings could be about that. Could be about letting things quiet down, letting someone or something go in order to create more peace and more space for something that is actually worth your time. For Libra rising, Neptune will retrograde through your 6th house, and 6th house deals with service, work, daily matters, health, diet. So of course, I see this as possibly addressing your bad habits when it comes to eating sugar before bed every day, or starting your day with a box of cookies. I used to eat like sugar covered cookies when I was like, I don't know, a few years ago basically, and now I'm a lot better about it. But yeah, like kind of looking at your negative habits, looking at your bad tendencies. What are you eating? Are you skipping workouts to go like drink alcohol all the time? Maybe you need to become more serious. Maybe you need to allow more space for physical well-being versus sabotaging yourself. And this can actually be the time when you choose to slow down. A lot of Libra risings, myself included, have been working a lot with Saturn in the 5th house, taking all the joy away. Pisces being the 6th house, Jupiter was there early in the year, so there would have been like a lot of work. And so this might actually be the time when you choose to work a little less, when you choose to rest a little more, when you choose to make choices that are healthy for you. And sometimes, you know, relaxing, taking baths, reading in the nature, sunbathing, traveling could be a great source of joy for you. I'm going on vacation in August, so I'm super excited about that. But yeah, like addressing a tendency to 6th house deals with serving others and sacrificing yourself. So what are you sacrificing, right? Like, are you sacrificing your health? Are you sacrificing your time? Are you putting yourself on the altar of this big cause? And it's great if you feel passionate about something, keep going, but maybe making sure you're not just like taking all of your energy and giving it to someone and then you feel drained and you have nothing left for yourself. Might be the good time to take a step back, take a breather, and so you can come back stronger. For Scorpio rising, Neptune will retrograde through the 4th house. This is, of course, 5th house. This is, of course, quite significant too. Not as significant as the 4th, but still. This could be good for your creativity because maybe if you are especially a creative individual and Neptune goes retrograde and you're starting to try a new creative hobby, you're trying to figure out what makes you feel excited, maybe you're going back in your style and trying something fun. So finding inspiration could be a big theme. Allowing yourself to play, I think, is a big part of this, right? Like not being too restrictive or too structured with your creativity and with your relationship with children is also like is a big part of it. Like allow yourself to play, allow yourself to discover things in the playful way. And children are a big part of the fifth house too. So there might be certain confusion you need to clarify, you need to clear up in relation to children. So if you have kids, maybe you need to figure out what school they're going to and kind of, sort through the matters related to that. If you're planning to have children, maybe you need to have important conversations and start trying, or set your mind on kind of come up with a plan on making that dream a reality. And then of course, fifth house deals with romance and kind of sexual relationships. And you've had Jupiter in your fifth house. Jupiter is actually coming back October 28th until December 20th, and Neptune is in your fifth house. So, and the eclipses have been happening in your seventh house as well, right? So there's a lot of focus on romantic relationships, but I think Neptune being retrograde can make you see your partner as a real person, especially if you had idealized them or struggled to see them for who they are, or like saw them through rose-colored glasses. This could be a lovely time to see them as a real person who has flaws, and maybe you need to invest more time and energy into working on the relationship. For Sag rising, Neptune will retrograde through the fourth house, and this feels like time of renewal in the family. This feels like forgiveness and release of past karma, of all the feelings of misunderstanding and struggles with your family that you had, any grudges you hold on to, any things you like struggling with, releasing just like, releasing them for the sake of your own peace. I'm not saying you need to forgive your abusive family members and like reconnect with them, but letting it go as just part of your past and being like, this is what happened to me, and it's a part of my history, it's a part of my scar tissue, but it's not all of me. It's not who I am right now, right? Like I'm that, but I'm also this, and I can be a star, and I can be like, sometimes I struggle. So like allowing yourself to move past those things. And of course, because Neptune is retrograding through your fourth house, it might mean that first you have to lift some of that stuff up. So maybe it's a good time to lean into therapy, to journal about it, to do some rituals in order to let things go. And like another thing too, I feel like forgiving yourself for acting the way you acted in certain situations, releasing the blame that you may be placing on yourself, and finding a place that makes you feel secure. It's not always about a literal place. It could be about people that feel like family, or of course it could be an actual place. So maybe you're moving, maybe you're going backwards in time somehow, like backwards as in the place that you used to live in before. Maybe you're going to live in that place. For Capricorn rising, Neptune will retrograde through the third house, and third house deals with communication, your schedule, your siblings. So communication wise, there might be things that you have to say, things that you maybe didn't communicate before, and they could be challenging, they could be tricky, emotional, and deep, things that you would rather not talk about, but you really need to express them. So finding your voice, finding the courage to talk about problems that are on your mind or things that are on your mind could be significant. Dealing with the matters of like being heard is a part of this transit. I think like sometimes we are in a relationship with people and we're talking to them, but we feel like they're not listening. And of course, it might also be you who's not listening. It might also mean that you need to learn to listen to people in your life, to people in your immediate environment, and like open yourself up to hearing their perspectives too, because Neptune is retrograde, right? It's making you question things that you previously found solid and real. Dealing with siblings, with neighbors, with matters in the neighborhood. Like if you had a weird neighbor, maybe, you need to like deal with them. I'm laughing because I have a weird neighbor. So hoping that one day he'll be living someplace else. But yeah, like dealing with siblings, maybe questions of not being heard by siblings or sibling-like figures, your friends, might be important here. For Aqua rising, Neptune retrogrades through the second house, and this is the place of money and values. And financially, this might be the time when you have to come up with a plan, right? Like have a more stable financial life, start a savings account, start an IRA, get a handle on your finances, especially if you've been sort of winging it a little bit. This might be the time to become more serious. Maybe you need to ask for help with your finances. At the same time, second house is not just about money, it's also about things that you value and things that you consider important. And here, perhaps you are looking at money differently, or you are called and encouraged to look at money differently and see it as just a tool and not the ultimate outcome, the ultimate goal, right? Like money doesn't buy you happiness. So questioning things that make you happy, questioning things that make you feel valuable. Maybe it's time with your family. Maybe it's time at the beach, right? There's a lot of possibilities. A wonderful way to use this transit, I think, would be starting a gratitude journal. I saw it online somewhere. Sadly, I don't have a source. I should get a source next time. But like starting a gratitude journal and using it to write 10 things that you're grateful for, or 5 things, or 1 thing every day that makes you happy. And it doesn't have to be big. It could be small. It could be eating a croissant, seeing a bird, petting a dog of a stranger. There's so many things in this world that are magical and beautiful and worth living. And maybe it's your time to find yours. Finally, for Pisces rising, this retrograde is happening in the first house. First house is you. It's the most embodied, the most tangible, you know, you can touch yourself. This is the first house. So with Neptune being retrograde in your first house, you may be redefining what you're dreaming about, as everyone does, or you might be looking at the way people perceive you, because Pisces is a very adaptable energy. You may shapeshift, you may present an image to people that they connect with, that they feel like mirrored in, but it's not your true image. So figuring out what's your actual style, what's your actual communication style, what your message to the world is, I think is a part of this retrograde, and maybe making changes to your appearance. As well as, of course, Neptune in the first house could be very self-sacrificial. It could be very like, could create that tendency to, why are you hiding, right? Like, why are you mirroring others? Because there's certain fears. There's certain like fear for not being accepted, fear of not being accepted for who you are. So you're called also to address any negative habits, any, you know, self-defeating tendencies, self-doubt, and accept yourself for who you are. Very much so, I think. Yes, there might be negative habits you have to address, but another one is also just like believing that you are enough. Pisces rising people and Pisces placements in general may struggle with victimhood and victimizing themselves and like seeing themselves as like someone who things happen to. So I think Neptune going retrograde is about you stepping into your power and seeing that you have control over yourself and you are the main character of your story, and embracing that and kind of starting to walk around with that light, with that confidence of being the main hero. So this is it. This is all I have to say about Neptune retrograde. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you make the best of Neptune retrograde. If you're planning to go on vacation and spend a lot of time by the water, let me know in the comments below, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.